Continuing on with our 2024 release items, over on the construction side, users now have the ability to track insurance and miscellaneous compliance records by the primary document. So in the prior releases, you can track that information on the vendor only. In this scenario, you're now able to turn on and track items like insurances specific to each subcontractor commitment for that agreement itself. As in the prior release, you'll need to make sure over in your subscriptions that you do have the vendor compliance area configured and turned on. So I'm going to go into Setup, Company, Subscriptions, and you do want to make sure down, if you scroll down near the bottom, and I keep going down here, under the vendor compliance, you do want to make sure that is enabled. The setup for this is going to be over in the purchasing module. So I'm going to go at top level under setup, and over under vendor compliances, we're going to go now into compliance definitions, and you're going to have a few more options here. So if I click on the list, there's some existing ones already set up, and you'll notice you have this track by option now. So in the past, it was just vendor for insurances and miscellaneous. Lien waivers were down at the primary document. Now in this release, you're going to have the ability to turn on these definitions down to the primary document level for insurances and for any miscellaneous compliance definitions that you want to set up. So let's go ahead and set up a new one. I'm going to click Add here. And I'm going to call this definition ID, let's call it Sub Insurance. Because we're going to want to track insurance certificates for each commitment that we have for our subs. So I'm going to give it a definition. And you have this compliance category, so we're going to set it up as an insurance category. We're going to make it active. And this is the new area here. You now have this track by, where you can come in here and say, I want to track this at the primary document level. So for each subcontract document, I have the ability to track insurances now. And you can have it automatically generate whenever the document is created, or in this case, we're going to actually go in and enter them when we're entering the subcontract document. So we're going to say, do not generate. You have options as far as how you're going to validate your compliance. And if you select the insurance, that defaults to expiration date. If I was to change this and maybe make it miscellaneous, you'll notice you have some additional options here for that. But I'm going to go ahead and say insurance. And then when I'm going to pay this commitment, what do I want to happen? Do I want an error, a warning, or ignore? And I'm just going to say a warning for now. So once you set that up, you're going to go ahead and hit save. And that'll get set up in the system to be used later on. Now, because I am setting this up as the primary document, I am going to want to go back into my compliance types and set up my insurances that I want to track for a subcontract. So for example, I may want to track workers' compensation. So let's call this WC insurance. And we'll call it workers' comp insurance, spelled out. And I'm going to tie it to our new definition ID, sub insurance. And you have to give it a record ID number sequence. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. And I'll call it WC insurance. And we'll just make it a 5-digit number with WC in the prefix, but we'll put it in cap. And let's go 6. So you can create your own sequence here. We'll say save. Oh, and we need a starting number. So let's start with 1. Okay. And that's all we need for this one here. So we'll say save. And maybe we want to also track general liability insurance, but I'm going to set it up again because this one is for the vendor level. So in my sample, I'm going to go and I'm going to create a new one. I do believe we can duplicate this. Nope. So let's go ahead and just go ahead and click add. And we'll use the same ID scheme here. We'll do it GL insurance. And we're going to link that also to the sub insurance. And we'll call it general liability insurance. And we'll go ahead and create a new one for that. And we'll just call it GL insurance. We'll make it 6. We'll put GL, we'll cap it though, and we'll start with 1 there. So those are set up, those compliant types are set up in the system now. So now that that's set up, I can go over to my purchasing area and I can go ahead and I can actually, let's go to our entity. Let's go to our sample company here, general contract, GC entity. And I'm going to go to purchasing all, and I'm going to set up a subcontract. So I'm going to go ahead and click the plus button here and create a new one on the fly. And I'll select our subcontract we're going to use. We're going to use Buffalo Glass. We're going to code it to La Quinta, Houston. And we're going to come down here and enter our subcontract as normal. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in a line, and this is a glass company. I don't know if I have any, but we'll just go ahead and pick something here. So we're going to assume they're doing some steel. And they're going to be a subcontract. So we're going to fill that in, and we don't care about quantity. It's a subcontract, so we're going to say 25,000. So I'm going to click post. Once I have that record in the system, now there's going to be a new tab in this transaction definition screen. So there's the subcontract I just created. If I go back in, I'm going to click edit here. What you'll now see is the ability to track those compliance records right on the commitment itself. So inside subcontract, I'm going to see this new tab here called commitment compliance. I ignored this one. This was a test one I was playing with earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And so now I have the ability to fill that information out. So if I'm tracking insurances, I can come into here and click add. And now I'll be able to grab my different types that I set up in the prior session. So I'm going to come here and say I want to fill in their workers' comp insurances. And you can make this screen bigger here, and you can fill out all these different fields. Have you received the document? What's the policy number? What's the amount? Who's it from? You could fill all that information in the system, but most importantly, you could track the date you received it and if it's expired or not. And in this case, you know, maybe you want to put in an effective date of January 1, and let's say it's going to expire, you know, we'll just do a month, March 31st. But the system can track that for you, and then you can track whether you received the document or not. And I can go ahead and hit save. And a lot of times you'll have a scanned in copy of that. So inside here, I can go back into it, and you can use the attachment function that you can use in the system as well, and drag it and drop it in and attach the actual document. And now that insurance record is going to be tied to not only the vendor, but that agreement as well. And if I want to add another one, now I have another one here where I can add the general liability. And then, you know, you're going to fill in your policy number, amount, contact, you know, anything you need, who'd receive it from, anything that you want to track here, you can go ahead and do that. And let's say we got it on the 8th, and the effective date is October to June. So you can fill that information in. Save. And now you have records, compliance records that can be monitored and will give you errors and warnings when they are expired. And you can go ahead and hit post. And that transaction is in the system. Now you can also get to that information directly from the vendor compliance area. So in purchasing, under all, you can go to vendor compliance and you can get a complete list of all your compliance records. And inside here now, what you'll notice is you have this new column here, this primary document ID. So you can see there's some lien waiver ones here. There's the workers' comp insurance that we just did. And you can see how they're tied to that primary document. So you can do filters on this, conditions, but in this scenario, I could come into here and click right on that primary document, and it takes me right back to it. And then I can get into my commitment compliance from here. And that's the new feature of now being able to track insurance and miscellaneous compliance records by primary document.